I'm going to take you through a couple of little clips because I just feel, why wouldn't I? It was such a great thing. Let me just tell you, this is the new pink. It is just unbelievable. And let me tell you why I'm telling you. Because this is how we fund the things. And what are those things that we fund? We fund spaces in which ordinary women, not women that get to go on TV and do fabulous interviews, not women that do YouTube channels, not women that write letters or publications, women that you may never know who actually we give voice to. And we do that by bringing women in. And I have got some incredible things planned for our locals. So if you're looking for a way to feel, no matter what your physical ability or disability, we have something for you. So now is the time to join locals. We don't do a lot of letter writing here. We do a lot of action in the thick of it stuff. And we feel, that's our forte. What can I say? But when you buy such a delectable thing as this, and let me just show you. And right now, if you get one of these, what we do is we give you a nice. I'm just going to do it like that. We give you a lovely little pink adult human female badge. So there's this beautiful thing. Or there's this beautiful thing. Um, so we've got this is this is called antique rose. So it's a rose color. It's so nice. We also mother, which is her just so important. And I'm going to show you a couple of mothers in a minute who don't deserve the term mother. We also have a gold let women speak, or we have a gold diamante woman. So if you fancy any of those, look, we don't just ask for donations. We're not asking you to serve us. We're not putting out our little begging bowl, although I'm quite happy to take your money. Um, we're not asking for that. In fact, I'm not even just saying be the billboard anymore because we know that being the billboard helps create conversations. I talked to someone today who she'd seen like a neighbor or someone in her neighborhood, a man, frequently. And then one day, because she wears these items of clothing, he stopped her and talked to her. And then he felt like he could speak up within his church. And unfortunately, his church have turned on him. But this sort of stuff, this messaging really does breed courage. So if you're wearing it, this honestly, it's not just about the wearing it. It is about what you're giving funding to. And I'm look, we're not in with the big wigs. We're not here. We are. There's no rich person that has deep pockets that gives us money. We don't have hundreds of thousands of pounds sitting in the bank. And I'm not criticizing anyone that does. It takes an awful lot of money to fund the sort of events and things that I do. Um, but we don't have anybody with deep pockets. There's quite a few people that give to things that men do. And if I was a proper conservative and very right wing, I dare say that people would put their hands in their pockets for me if I called myself uber right or super right wing. There will be plenty of money for me there. But we are independent here. We don't toe anybody else's line. And because of that, well, I have to do this, and because I have to do this, you have to do this. You have to actually purchase and wear the clothing so that I can enable women around the country and the world to have a voice. And I don't know if you tune into Turf Talk Tuesday, but if you do, you'll see that it really does have often quite a dramatic impact for women who feel completely alone, who are on the outside, feel that they're completely isolated. And without a campaign like this, which really doesn't ask for an academic, this is not for professional women, this is for every single woman, regardless of what sort of social economic situation she's in, who she votes for, how she feels about a whole range of different issues up and down the country. But that's what we're talking about. Look, one thing I don't do here is compromise. There is no middle ground without compromising, and there is no compromise without submission. So I'm not prepared to do that. I could do that. I could say, well, let's just Okay, that's good enough. But quite frankly, without totally repealing the GRA, it's not good enough. Without getting every single man out of a woman's space, it's not good enough. Without every school reverting back to single sex toilets, changing facilities, and actually girls meaning girls and boys meaning boys, it's not good enough. Without every parent feeling empowered to go into their school and demand to know what's going on in their school, it's not good enough. I don't think there is any situation ever. And I've read the CAS review this morning, and I can't say that I'm impressed. And I did gloss over it before, and more fool me. I don't call children young people. I don't think that there is a right path ever. I don't give a crap what the parents say, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. I don't care what parents say. I don't care what doctors say. I don't care what religious leaders say. I don't care what MPs say. I don't care what your favorite celebrity says. I don't care what your favorite activist says. There is never, ever a situation where it is acceptable to transition or fake transition or mutilate or block or puberty block or socially transition any child ever. And by child, I mean under 18. And really, I probably mean under 25. And actually, I dare say what I mean is transition is never an answer for anything, ever. If it was up to me, it wouldn't exist at all. But we live in a free and open society. And actually, I don't get to make a decision whether or not someone inflates their breast to a size double Z. That's not my decision. Once you're a certain age, that's your decision. And I don't get to decide whether a man slices his penis clean off, has it inverted and tucked back into a hole, the gaping hole that will never heal and will fester and rot and probably smell of fecal matter for at least 2 years. I don't get to decide those things. And in a free and open society, neither do you. But we do get to make decisions on behalf of children. And we do get to be a little more sensible when it comes to what is appropriate for children. And transition, my friends, puberty blockers are never appropriate for a child. It is never appropriate to tell a child that they can transition. But anyway, before we crack into this other thing I'm going to discuss today, why don't we have a little listen at Davina? This is her response to many of us being quite annoyed that she platformed a self-loathing woman who's mutilated her body.
Hey, somebody just sent me a message going, "Oh, you're getting piled on." I was thinking, oh my God, what's that for? You guys are quite late to the party. I talked about this 2 years ago. And what's interesting, I've had the kind of extreme sort of trans community pile on me and try and cancel me because I said that I found the podcast about J.K. Rowling very balanced.
Are we saying that? Are we honestly saying that it was the same sort of response from women, really deeply disappointed at the promotion of self-harm? Are we really saying that she got the same sort of response as she did from trans activists?
And now you lot are piling on me for including a trans man in my menopausing book.
Because they're women.
I'm really over it. Anybody for the Masked Singer tonight?
Frankly, Davina, I think some of us are a little bit over you. And I say that with great sadness because we aren't. I don't think women, I think, maybe some women are angry. I'm probably a little bit angry now. I think she's really sold out. But I think many of us were quite disappointed because we really thought somebody doing something, whether it's self-serving, and I don't think it is. I have reason to believe she's a nice woman, but whether it's someone self-serving when it comes to this particular bit of her career, and I don't think it is. I think actually she was really quite genuine. Whether it's that or whether it's because she really meant it or whatever it is, whatever the reason was for her focusing on menopause, I think it made a lot of us who've grown up with Davina on our television screens, I think it made a lot of women feel that they could talk about it and that somebody was listening and she would be listened to. So actually, Davina, I don't imagine it was the same at all. I would imagine that you just might have hopefully felt it far more acutely because we're your audience. Like, we're you. We are your audience. Like, when you got divorced, I would imagine a lot of women empathize with you who'd also been divorced. Like, throughout your pregnancies, you've been a bit hard on your sleeve, and I think many of us probably foolishly thought we really knew you and understood you, and the girl thing was something real, but actually, we've all discovered that it's not. So there we go. Anyway, if you're eating, you might want to hold off. Um, if you've got small children in the room, this won't necessarily be something that you want them to see. And by not necessarily, I mean you won't want them to see this. It is not for children. Um, so you might have to park this and come back later and maybe miss the live chat or make sure it can't be seen. But I think this is important. So this is the other side of the story. This is not female mutilation. This is male mutilation. This is what we sometimes talk about, what I've talked about, that often it's women. So men might be the AGP perverts that subject their family to their own fantasy, but women do this. It's very much like women do generally. It's deceitful, it's self-serving, it's manipulative, it's incredibly toxic. Um, and there is something really, really creepy in what you're about to see. But this is, yeah, scary stuff. It's on the National Geographic.
Tender knee pat.
You know how sometimes life seems like you're living years in a couple minutes?
This is Emmy and I.
We're identical. I kind of take pride in being one of very few identical twin pairs that are boy and girl.
Did you hear that? Identical twin pairs that are boy and girl. Very few, as in there are none, including this one.
Look, it's Mommy.
When I first learned that my child was transgender, I couldn't speak the word. I was so I didn't know anything about it, and here I was, this good mother that researched everything before we bought a diaper. I was the one in the know. And
I think good mother here is a bit of a stretch, but you can make up your own mind.
all of a sudden, I didn't know anything, and it was frightening, and it was other, and I didn't want my child to hurt or be judged.
Oh my goodness.
I think people are fascinated by gender reassignment surgery. They're like insatiably curious about it.
Can I just say this is 2017, so this is National Geographic, which, as you probably know if you've been following this for years, they have really promoted this. So I can only imagine maybe they've got a pervy old AGP right at the top of their particular tree. It can only be something like that because they really have spent a lot of effort in forcing this ideology down the throats of the public.
But they also don't know how to have a conversation about it. People ask me that question all the time. Like, what if there were no gender norms in this world? Like, but would anyone want to transition? I'm like, well, we do live in a world with gender norms, so don't quite see how it's relevant.
Oh. So people ask if there wasn't such thing as gender norms, would anybody transition? And they're like, I don't know, because we do live in a world of gender norms. That might give you more insight, and that would be what I call leakage. When somebody says something totally that they really, really, really don't mean to, because it conveys something so poignant and encapsulates exactly what's going on. Let me just say, I'm pretty sure that this is a very religious family. So if you bear that in mind, and if I say trans away the gay, I think that's what this is. I think this is a fine example.
I'm feeling very honored to be the parent accompanying Emmy on this journey. It feels very...
Look, I have kids. The way this mother behaves with this boy is freaky, creepy, weird, inappropriate, red flag central.
very sacred, this time of stillness and transition and embracing of this new life. And we've been kind of giddy and tired and, nervous. Dear God,
Look at those hands. Let me just rewind it. Can I just say I've been talking about this for quite some time now, since I first talked about Susie Green. So I've been talking about transing away the gay and what happens to these boys for a really, really long time. And the route from trans kid boy to porn is a well-traveled path.
feels very sacred, this time of stillness and transition and embracing of this new life.
His hands, her hands. His hands, slightly not really touching. Her hands, oh my God, I'm such an amazing mom. I'm so caring. I'm so wonderful. Blah, 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 blah. Just awful.
And we've been kind of giddy and tired.
I'm kind of giddy that my son's going to have his penis chopped off and tucked inside. I'm so giddy and excited. I didn't realize I could have this much attention just focused on me, and I would feel like I was doing something pioneering in getting my kid mutilated. I'm just so giddy and excited and giddy and homophobic and giddy.
Nervous. Dear God, we give you thanks for this incredible girl. Please bring this courageous girl through today, in the name of your Son, Jesus, to bring her to wholeness of body, mind, and spirit. Amen.
Dear God, please make the gay disappear as we make our incredible straight daughter come and our gay son disappear. Dear God.
Have you heard from Caleb this morning?
Yeah, I just texted him. I asked him to record me a song of his that I really loved last night, so he did that for me. And it's one of my favorites of his. And it has a lot to do with overcoming. The chorus goes like, whoa, never back down, though things are bound to change.
It's just all a little bit weirdy, incestuous, weird, crazy.
Oh, never turn round, though things are strange. Never
see where you are. It's light, though there's miles to go.
Oh, by the way, you'll recognize the surgeon in a minute. You'll recognize it's Christine McGinn. So you'll recognize him. I think he's an AGP. Well, I know he's an AGP, right? But he's famous for cutting off healthy parts of kids.
Never back down, keep walking through.
Right, what you're about to see is the actual surgery. Some of you may not want to see it, so if you're watching, you might just want to fast forward, but you are going to see it.
The snow. I hope that you find them. I hope you do. Tell them how I kept you warm. Tell without tears, love. Have no regrets. I married us inside the storm.
The glans penis becomes the clitoris. The skin of the penis becomes...
So the glans is like the bit at the end. And And they're saying there that becomes the clitoris. What you might want to know about this boy is he came out, to use their terminology, he decided he was trans at 17. And in this video, he's 17 because it's all about someone called Emmy Smith, who's a 17-year-old teen who shows everybody what it's like. So he basically decided that he was trans and he got fast-tracked into this shit within months.
Comes the labia minora and part of the opening of the vagina. The scrotal skin is taken off and used as a skin graft. It's rolled up into a tube, and that's placed in a space that we make at the base of the scrotum.
So to make I don't know what yours is made out of, ladies, but I don't think my vagina is made out of a refashioned scrotum. Just Jesus Christ.
And goes back in between where the bladder sits and the rectum sits. And that's going to be the lining of the vagina. The testicles and the cords are removed, and the urethra is actually saved, and a flap of urethra is used to make a hood for the clitoris.
Lay down there too, covering you, keeping you warm and dry.
It's so freaking sinister. The song, I think it was like one of his brothers who'd written the song or something, because he sort of says a song for me. So there's someone singing whilst he's like overlaid with this sort of atmospheric, music. Oh, isn't it so great with this song, and then the beeping and the slicing and the revealing of bloodied testicles. It really is like something out of the worst of all David Lynch's movies, and I don't like any of them anyway.
I may die here, you'll follow through, not I.
Good morning. Start from again. Hi, Emmy. Can you hear me? The date on the one. You're all finished. You're in the operating room. You're in the recovery area.
She's scared. I can see it in her eyes today. But I know she's going to be fine. She had a great surgery.
He's scared. Why would he be scared? He's only just made a catastrophic, life-altering decision. Let me just say, Emmy Smith can't be found either. So I did have a quick search to see what had happened to him, but he doesn't seem to be online.
So when people don't do well after their transition, it's because they have absolutely no support system. Their support system.
You must support everybody's surgery. And if they fail, it's your fault.
System is, like their family is putting on a game face, but, they're scared as hell too. I mean, those family members are real heroes to me. I have goosebumps as I say this. She's got everything going for her.
You would hope that what's going through her mind is, oh my God, especially because she's a religious woman, oh my God, I'm going straight to hell. What have I done? Because it's real now. My attention seeking, going along with it to be the best mother in the world without actually being a decent mother at all. It's real now. My son's had his penis cut off and his testicles removed. And he's got a cavity in front of his rectum that shouldn't be there, that isn't really natural, and he's huge and his face is huge, and right now he's just 18, but by the time he's 25 and 30, like all of them, even with the best work, he's gonna look like a massive, great big bloke with breasts. But she's not. This is a little bit of emotion for the camera because she's such a great mom.
Hi, it's me. She's out. She's great.
And now I feel like I haven't taken a deep breath for like 2 days. So she's going to be in recovery in a little bit, and she'll be a little groggy, but kind of taken care of by the gang here, and then she'll be ours again.
Hi Ned, it's Kate. Emmy just went down to the OR. I'll keep you in the loop as I get any news. So wish I could be with her. And Patrick sent 3 hearts, and Sarah said, thank you with a heart. And Jules sent 3 hearts, and Laura said, thank you, Kate.
Can I just say, as a parent, when I was when one of my kids was young, he was tongue tied, which means the little thing under the tongue was near the end of the tongue, and he had to go for surgery. And the reason he had to go for surgery under a year is because if you leave it until after they speak, then they have to relearn how to pronounce words again. And I thought actually the how that might feel for a boy that couldn't get his tongue to the thoroughfare if he was constantly talking like that, how that would be for a boy or any child growing up, not being able to speak properly or having to relearn. Um, it just it was a lot better, I felt, for him to go to surgery as young as possible, to get this done. But I did the research. I felt it was absolutely necessary. We're in a place where we didn't feel there was any choice. And another one of my kids had surgery when they were about 6 or 7. That was emergency surgery, but to think that I would put any one of my children through a surgery that was not life-saving, that was not going to totally change their lives for the better without complications. Like, there are the only complication from having the surgery, like slicing off that little bit, which in some places midwives would do it at, like, near birth. Um, the complication was an infection and some antibiotics. Like, this complication is death. This is, in 5 years' time, he'll realize, he'll regret that he can never have any sexual function, and his mother was there cheerleading it. I mean, would you risk that for your child, full stop? But even if you're a manipulative, narcissistic, borderline personality disorder mother who is inflicting this ideology and going through it because she just wants to be closer to Jesus and not have a gay son. Um, do we really think, like, it's not even gonna pay off for her? Not in the long run.
And Tia said, thank you, Kate.
Also, she's talking so quietly, and it's all in black and white, and it's so emotional because the directors decided that you're supposed to feel like, "Oh my god, she's such a great mom, and this is so essential. This is oh my god, this is so great."
And Sophie girl said, I wish so much that I could be there. Thank you so much.
Got the mother's hand. What?
Being closeted was one of the worst parts of my life.
Sorry? Come again? Let's hear that again. You might have to have the simpering stuff first.
Tia said, thank
Listen.
you, Kate. And Sophie girl said, I wish so much that I could be there. Thank you so much.
Being closeted was one of the worst parts of my life.
Being closeted was one of the worst parts of my life.
Being out, I mean, it's not so much like a personal change, it's a social change. I came out on Facebook. There was a lot of positive response just from that. The thing I really remember about coming out was I was in a play. I went to rehearsal. They were getting my pronouns right. They were using my name. Like, it was, just a total different world, and I felt, incredible.
Look at all those people. Validate me. I'm such a nice woman. Validate me. Jesus Christ. We have got to stop the way that women behave like this. This performative niceness when they're actually anything but.
If I was not out, I'm not sure I would, be alive right now.
You would, mate. You would. You might actually be coming to terms with the fact that you're gay. And you might have found a really nice boyfriend, and you might have had some sort of intimate relationship in which your body felt all right and you understood what it was for and how it works and how it's really amazing when you find someone that you like, and you sort of have an intimate relationship with them, and then everything makes sense, and then all the shame you feel might go away because the payoff of having a really lovely relationship with someone will just make that shame evaporate, and it won't matter anymore. It will be bigger than the shame. It's a bit like girls who feel really bad about their bodies, and then they meet a boy or another girl, and it just they stop being so hung up about their bodies anymore because the payoff from having an intimate relationship is far outweighs any kind of negativity they feel about their bodies.
What my husband and I keep remarking onto each other is this just feels.
Do any of you do that with your 18-year-old kids? Put your heads together and kiss them and shut your eyes like she is, and it's deranged.
So right. It's so her. It's so the child we've always known and loved. Even though a few years ago we wouldn't have necessarily.
That there, sadness, awful, 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 awful. I can't even think of. There's a movie called Stardust, which I love, and there's a bit with Michelle Pfeiffer, and she's got a glass knife. She's a witch, and then they've caught a star, and a star gives witches eternal, like more years to live, and it makes them youthful again. And the way she talks, the way Michelle Pfeiffer talks to this woman she intends to kill with this glass knife and caresses her with this knife and does that's what that reminds me of. Right there. That woman reminds me right there of a real malevolent, really dangerous individual.
Anticipated this step.
Into a standing position.
The idea is you don't want to.
When I think about why I eventually wanted to get this surgery, because I really didn't at first, I think the reason that I ended up really wanting it to happen started out as being something more out of convenience. As it became more real and as I got the surgery date and all of that, I found a million reasons, why.
So at first, he didn't really want the surgery, but then what changed his mind? He doesn't say, does he?
I wanted it to happen.
Then I found a million reasons and I really wanted it to happen. What were they, son?
And that's where I think transition is, again, problematic because it presupposes an end point. Like at some point you have transitioned, whereas every single one of us is in constant development.
Yeah, not my genitals being sliced up though, love. Like I'm in constant development because I live and I meet people all the time and I have conversations, and they might change my experience of this earth because I've met somebody with a different experience, so I'm gathering stuff to make more informed decisions and opinions. But at no point am I chasing my biological sex. I'm not more of a woman one day than the next, or I haven't got to wait for my I haven't got to dilate a cavity and hope that it doesn't rot and fall out in order to feel more of myself.
This is obviously a huge, huge moment in Emmy's life, but it's not by any.
I think I'm quite English about the way I feel about smears and so on. There is no way that I would sit with someone chatting while they stared at my vagina. Call me old-fashioned, call me a bit of a prude, if you will.
He means the end point. It's just, in some ways, the beginning.
Have you got any pictures of yourself like that, ladies? Have you? So that's one. Oh, okay. So what was she doing? College. 9 weeks. She's back to work at an art museum, preparing to audition for acting. Horrendous. Is that the worst you've got, Kellie-Jay? Well, I think it might be the worst, but maybe not. You decide. I'm gonna show you a little bit of this. Um, around the 12 minutes, if I can find it. If it tells me, just give me a moment, people. Um, so there's that kid called Edie. I think I'm gonna be able to show you, but it doesn't like me very much. Um, this might not work, so we might have to leave it there. But I just want to say again, it is mothers doing this. We probably need to work out why. I think we have good reason. I think I have good reason to understand why, because I've been a victim of women's most pernicious, vile behavior. And oh my God, this movement, if we can call it a movement, has many egos. I'm probably one of them. I've probably got an ego. I don't think you could sit in front of a screen like this or stand up in front of a load of people without an ego. I've certainly got one. Mine's particularly healthy. Um, but there are a lot of women who want to be something without doing much. They are narcissistic, pathological liars, borderline personality disorders. Plenty of those. You see them all the time. This is my advice. Just avoid them. There are I can't show you anymore. There are definitely people in this movement who like to create drama and stir up nonsense. And, like I've said, I've been targeted by them, but you have to just ignore them. And eventually, other people spot it too, and then they disappear, which is what's happened to many of the women who did it to me. They just disappear and nobody really notices them and they just stay in their tiny little bubble. But that sort of behavior, that sort of manipulative, pathological. I mean, look, there's a pathological liar that's made it right to the top of her game, and she's a really dangerous pathological liar. Um, but sometimes they make it, often they don't. I'm just saying that that sort of behavior is more prevalent in females than males. And that sort of thing is very closely linked to this trans Munchausen's by proxy that you see here. Now, I've been talking about that particular thing for a very long time. In fact, when I first peaked in 2015, 2016, I tried to talk to some people who were experts in Munchausen's by proxy, but they'd already been fair warned not to talk about this sort of thing. It's the same as people who talk about instinct. It's the same as people who talk about all different sorts of things that would inform us that we know that we're right. So, um, that's all I'm going to say. I'm also saying, I'm not saying men are poor men. I'm just saying women are particularly toxic in this area. And women are far more likely, like Edie has a mum and a dad pushing this crap. And I think Edie's like an 8-year-old boy. And they're permanently online. They've got a whole social media thing. She's just had a tummy tuck and a breast implant. He's had a hair implant and a transplant or whatever. So they're people that like permanently to show you everything about their lives. And I'm sure having a kid that they've now pretended is the opposite sex is really great for their ratings and their views. But I'm just saying that there is something particularly female about this, and it definitely is. Men don't seem to want to do it as much as women. Maybe that's because men are more attached to their testicles than women. So that's what they. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's men are a little bit straightforward, more straightforward than women. But it is this same deceitful needing to be seen as nice, which I think is at the heart of why women lie and gossip and bitch about people behind their backs rather than deal with things head on, because women need to maintain this public persona of being nice. Anyway, okay. I'm glad we watched that together. It is disgusting. I hope very much that Emmy doesn't regret it, although I suspect he will. I don't know his actual name, but I expect he will. Um, like they all will. I mean, Jazz Jennings is the biggest advert ever that transition is the most stupid, vile, malicious, narcissistic, abusive thing you can do to a minor, to a child, or even just a young person, even someone under 25. It's just horrendous. Anyway, okay. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'll be in Exeter on Saturday, and then be in London next Sunday. Do join me if you can. It would be lovely to see you. It really does take us out in the public. That you can write letters if you want, and sometimes they're quite good and they make us feel better, but actually they don't persuade the public. Acts sway the public. Like at the weekend, I went somewhere with my daughter and I got recognized by two very, very different people. And one woman said, "Oh, are you the woman, adult human female woman?" And I said, "Yes." And I wasn't 100% sure that she was on side. And she said, "Oh, what's the status of that?" And I talked a little bit about it. And she said, "Oh, you're so brave." And she was very lovely. "Oh, I can't believe it. It's so difficult to talk about these things." And I was in a particular shop that I thought maybe they didn't agree. And then I said to the one of the chaps working in the shop, "Oh, where are you from in Australia?" He said, "Perth." And I said, "Oh, I did a little tour. I visited some places in Australia last year." And he said, "Oh, yeah, I know you did." He said, "And I didn't know anything about you, didn't know who you were, never heard of you." And then they started talking about Nazis. And I looked at the event in Melbourne and I was like, "Well, she's not a Nazi, and there were no Nazis." He said, "And then I've also lived in New Zealand. So I watched that whole thing of you in New Zealand." And I think he was about 30, 35. He said, "I watched that whole thing about you in New Zealand." And he'd followed it really closely because I had been accused of being a Nazi. So those sorts of massive things that we here at Let Women Speak have achieved, um, they make a bigger difference than anything else as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a vet, but I know what a dog is. Was shared over 60 million times on TikTok and various other platforms. Those things make a difference. Those little tiny, that those 11 words made more of a difference than so many other things that we could mention. But anyway, okay. Look, if you come to Exeter, oh God, I promise I'll do my hair. If you come to Exeter and you can stand up and be counted, then I promise we will win. If you lovely people can help fund this, what I believe to be the most effective fight back that we've got, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose